How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about SOFI. On the Friday, it was able to close just over 19% on the day. The momentum continues. We also had some big news that just came out. I'm going to be sharing that. I won't be wasting any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for SOFI. Let's see how it performed on Friday. So it ended up closing at $6.75, being up 19.26%. On the low, it tested $6.01, and then on the high, testing $6.86. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 74.842 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 64.052 million shares. So we had above average volume on the day, and we also seen some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, we can see from the RSI down below, it's at 48.50. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 100-day, the 50-day, and we are above the 21-day EMA. It is at $6.62, and we close at $6.75. So the first thing we need to pay attention to, as far as for the low on the day, we tested $6.01. And as you can see clearly on this chart, we do have a gap here to the downside. And what does that gap look like? It looks like it's around $5.78. So we know on this channel, gaps do get filled most of the time. But the question is, are we going to be having a run up to the 50-day moving average before actually filling in this gap? Where's the 50-day moving average? It's right here around $7.95, but let's just call that $8, which would be a strong resistance area for SOFI. So if it was able to get up here, we'd want to see the bull stepping in to buy it up further to see if the stock can move up even more. Because we also do know there's a gap that needs to be filled to the upside around $8.50 and right here around $9.14. So that is what you want to keep an eye on. But in my personal opinion, if we continue to have volatility in these markets and we have some selling pressure for the coming week, SOFI will be filling in that gap to the downside. I want to make sure I'm being completely real with you guys here. And as far as if it continues to be bullish, you guys already know what that scenario looks like. But if it does decide to have a strong red day and actually fill in the gap and go lower, then I'm going to be looking for support to actually come in. We've already shown previous areas of support here inside of the mid fours. We've seen it at a low of around $4.82 as well. So again, I just want to see us hold up $5 if we decide to fill in this gap to the downside. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for SOFI. So green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So we're going to take a look at the recent filings for the 13th. We have quite a bit, so let's get to it. We have Zion's BAM Corporation NA that purchased 410 shares and Worth Asset Management LLC that purchased 150 shares. We have Money Concepts Capital that purchased 1,005 shares. We have Prudential PLC that purchased 14,084 shares. We have Veridian Fund Management LLC that purchased 14,898 shares. We have Change Path LLC that purchased 17,799 shares. Capstone Investment Advisors LLC that went in with some calls with a value of 176,500 shares. We have Covington Capital Management that purchased 800 shares. Aviva PLC that purchased 91,777 shares. Exodus Point Capital Management LP that purchased 10,100 shares. We have AXA SA that purchased 440,000 shares. Boston Private Wealth LLC that purchased 43,746 shares. Blair William & Co. that purchased 10,409 shares. Neuberger Berman Group LLC that purchased 14,900 1,048 shares. We have Ergatelis LLC that purchased 44,900 shares, and DCF Advisors LLC that purchased 45,000 shares. So institutions loading up. Now, when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 39.67%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 13.74 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 400,000, updated 15 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow fee rate is at 6.98%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 12th, it is at 39.83, but then the close for the 13th being at 39.67. And looking at the short interest percentage of the float being at 19.87% shows us that SOFI does have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution.
Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for SOFI. So we see on the inflow, it is at 90.68 million, and then on the outflow, it's at 84.43 million. So we had an inflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 4.10 million. On the medium, it was 50.68 million. And then on the small, it was 35.90 million. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large, it was 0 million. On the medium, it was 50.94 million. And then on the small, it was at 33.49 million. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for May the 13th, so the Friday that just passed, we end up having that inflow of 4.1 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tend to represent the retail side, you could see that we had more buying than we had selling. No surprise, a lot of momentum in SOFI. And then taking a look at what happened on the medium, we had more selling than we had buying, but it was still fairly close. And then when we take a look at the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had a lot more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 8.17%. Yes, this is up there for a stock like SOFI, but we also know it's a volatile stock and it does see a lot of trading volume on a daily basis. And with the momentum that it has, I feel it does set itself up very well going into Monday, or we should say for this coming week. I'll talk about it further inside of the final thoughts, so let's get into it right now. So for my final thoughts for SOFI, let's go over some recent news that came out. I feel for my investors out there, you're going to be excited. So let's get into it. SOFI leads the best savings and investment apps. In a survey by IBD and Technometrica, 3 savings and investments apps rated as the best in fintech by earning the highest overall customer ratings across 6 performance categories. SOFI, the unit of SOFI Technologies, earned the #1 spot overall rating. It was followed by Webull and as well as Plaid. The survey asked 6,000 consumers to rate their experience with fintech apps they used in the last 12 months. 6 savings and investment apps qualified for the survey analysis. The ones that failed to crack into the top 3 overall best in fintech territory were Acorn, Stash, and Robinhood, although each ranked highly in at least one category. To qualify for the rankings, at least 100 of a company's customers had to participate in this survey. So this is definitely some great news for SOFI. It shows on the customer satisfaction side, they are getting the job done very well. And this is what you want to look forward to as an investor, because you are looking for an ROI, a return on your investment, and for how many period of years you want to hold it for, of course that's going to come down to you. But when you see that a company is doing everything that it needs to grow and accelerate, especially in a new field like fintech, I feel for SOFI overall in general, this is a very good look. And you want to have a strategy and do your research. Keep up with their earnings. We know on their previous support, they ended up bringing out a surprise. And it's part of the reasons why we're seeing a lot of momentum coming into the play. But for all of my investors out there who were down to load up when this stock was pulling back, especially when it was trading in the $4 range, I want to congratulate you. You can see as far as for the upside now, it is looking really good. But there's one thing we can't ignore, and I'm going to be talking about this in the price action. So we are doing very well. We are showing strong technicals. We have been showing some higher lows for the past 3 trading days. But the one thing we can't ignore, there is a gap to the downside around $5.78. I would love for us to fill in this gap before we make another move up. I would love to see SOFI going to around $8 $10 for the coming week. I think that would be really good. But at the same time, I'd rather it pull back, fill in that gap, get some buyers to come in, and then we make a move up further. I feel if we start to continue to run, considering we do have some gaps to the upside, we have them around $8.50 and as well as in the $9 range. But I want to make sure I'm keeping things realistic here. As far as for that gap right around $8.50, or I should say $8.48, if that gap ends up getting filled in, I don't want to see SOFI continuing to run up like that. Again, I just want that gap filled at 578 and then the stock can continue to make its move from there. But if it does go down to 578 and it decides to pull back even lower, then of course I feel that is an opportunity for even investors to show some more interest. Give it some consideration, because this is a company that is definitely on the right track to doing big things, especially as the months and the years progress. Also, when we went on Fintel taking a look at the recent institutional ownership, come on now, there's no surprise. We have institutions continuing to load up on shares. We did have some closed positions, but for the most part, a lot of institutional activity, and it's definitely a great sign. And then taking a look at the short interest information, it does continue to have short squeeze potential. No surprises, it is a growth stock in a bear market. I've given you guys these warnings time and time again with my SOFI videos, so it does present a lot of volatility. But if you are an investor and you're able to actually buy in at the right price, which we saw as of late recently, then of course you're going to be able to be on the winning side, especially for my traders. As long as you have some risk management and you're having realistic expectations as far as for your profit targets, you should have been doing very well. Especially when they ended up releasing earnings, they've literally just have run up many opportunities to take advantage of some money on that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see how the stock performs for the coming week. We'll talk soon.